You know, it's funny. When we think about our teeth, we usually think about dentists, right?
Right.
But what about all the work that goes on behind the scenes? The people who actually make those crowns and bridges, Like, you've clearly been thinking about this.
Yeah.
You sent us some really interesting stuff from RoleCatcher about dental technicians.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool field.
And that's what we're diving into today, which is perfect because they've got
Yeah.
career guides, interview prep, all sorts of resources on there. So we'll be exploring what dental technicians actually do, the good and the bad of the job, and how to even ace that interview, all based on what RoleCatcher has to say.
Sound good.
Sounds great, yeah. And it's definitely a career path worth exploring, especially now.
Oh, yeah.
Like with people living longer these days,
Mhm.
keeping their teeth longer.
Right, right.
The need for dental care is just booming.
Makes sense.
And it's not just about the teeth themselves, right? It's about people feeling good about their smiles.
About their confidence. Dental technicians play a huge role in that.
Totally. I was looking at the stuff from RoleCatcher, and they really get into the details of what these technicians do.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Like creating crowns and bridges. It actually sounds pretty artistic when they describe it.
It is.
Yeah.
No, they're using these high-tech tools instead of paintbrushes, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So speaking of high tech, I noticed RoleCatcher kept mentioning this thing called CAD/CAM technology. What is that exactly?
Well, basically, it's like bringing digital design and engineering right into the dental lab.
Wow.
So this isn't your grandfather's dentistry, with the plaster molds and all
Yeah,
that.
right, right. So are we talking like digital models and 3D printing here?
Exactly. And it's revolutionizing the way dental technicians work.
Okay, I'm definitely intrigued. So like instead of those plaster molds I'm picturing,
Yeah.
it's all digital scans and computer designs now?
It's pretty amazing.
Mm.
Imagine you're a dental technician, right? And you get a dentist's instructions for a crown. So in the past, you'd be working with a physical impression of the patient's teeth, lots of hands-on molding and shaping.
Yeah.
But with this CAD/CAM stuff, you're taking a digital scan, designing the crown on a computer, and then boom, you send it to a milling machine to be made.
Wow.
And it's incredibly precise, often faster, and you can make super intricate designs that would be really difficult by hand.
So you're cutting out steps, reducing the chance for errors. Man, that is efficient.
Exactly.
But it still sounds like there's room for that artistry, too.
Oh, absolutely.
It's high-tech artistry. That's really cool.
And for someone thinking about this as a career, being comfortable with technology is essential. I mean, this is the future of dental lab work.
It's the present and the future. Got it. Okay, this game changer thing, I get it. But I do want to zoom back in a little bit just for anyone listening who's totally new to this world.
Sure.
What are the core tasks a dental technician does every day?
So even though the technology is changing, the heart of the job really comes down to creating those custom dental devices.
Like crowns, bridges, dentures, implants, you name it.
Oh, wow.
They take the dentist's instructions, often from those patient molds or scans, and then they use this blend of traditional techniques, but also these high-tech tools to create these really precise, personalized devices.
That's where the technician part of the title really comes in, huh?
Yeah, definitely.
It's not just about having a steady hand, although I bet that helps.
Oh, for sure. But you need a whole lot more than that.
Right. It takes some serious skill and knowledge to get that level of precision.
Right. And it's also important to remember that even though a lot of the work happens in a lab, dental technicians are part of a team.
Okay.
They work really closely with dentists to make sure each device fits perfectly, functions the way it's supposed to, and really meets the individual needs of the patient.
It's collaborative.
Yeah, very much so.
Even if they're not face-to-face with the patient every day.
Exactly.
It's all connected. Okay, so we've got artistry, we've got technology, we've got teamwork, and it all comes together to help people improve their oral health.
And their well-being, like you said before, which is fantastic.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of people, if they don't know about this field, might assume it's kind of, one-dimensional, but it sounds way more dynamic than that.
Oh, yeah.
But like every job, it's got its good sides and its downsides.
Oh, yeah.
And RoleCatcher does a good job of laying those out there.
Yeah, they do a good job of that.
No sugarcoating, which is good.
You need the full picture. Yeah.
Exactly, because you got to weigh those to really make an informed decision about your career.
Definitely.
So why don't we get into that then?
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
Let's look at the pros and cons.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we've established dental technicians, kind of like the unsung heroes, right?
Yeah.
Behind our smiles.
Absolutely.
They're using those amazing skills to craft the things that help us smile with confidence.
It's true.
But now let's get into the nitty-gritty, the pros and cons of actually doing this job. RoleCatcher, I gotta give them credit, they lay it all out there, which is really good.
It's important.
No sugarcoating.
And absolutely not.
So let's start with the good stuff, right?
Yeah.
RoleCatcher talks about high job stability as a really big plus.
Definitely a big one, especially,
It's something that people are looking for, especially these days. Things can feel a little uncertain.
for sure.
Why is that stability such a big deal in this field?
Well, I mean, the need for dental care isn't going anywhere.
True.
People are always going to need work done, whether it's a checkup or something more serious. And like we were saying before, people are keeping their teeth longer.
Right, right.
So the demand for dental technicians, the people making those crowns and bridges, it's only going to grow.
That makes a lot of sense. It's a career with, like, a future, a real future.
Exactly.
But RoleCatcher did say, having such a specialized skill set can be good and bad.
It's true. It's like a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah, exactly. What do they mean by that?
Well, I mean, that job security is fantastic, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it comes from you being, really good at something so specific.
Yeah.
It's not like you're just learning some software you can use anywhere. You're developing these super technical skills. You're mastering techniques that, take real time to learn.
It's an investment.
Yeah, it's a commitment. So that's why it's so stable. But it also means you can't just wake up one day and switch careers easily.
That's a really, really good point. It's about what you value more, right? Like that security, being in this niche field, or having the flexibility to, maybe do something else later on.
Yeah, totally.
Now, another pro that always gets people excited that RoleCatcher mentions is rewarding work.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, what does that actually look like for a dental technician? Like, you're not interacting with patients directly.
True. Yeah. It's not, like you said, a nurse comforting a patient, at the bedside.
Right, right.
It's a different kind of reward.
Okay.
It comes from, that pride in your craft, that precision. Knowing you have the skills to create this dental device, and it fits perfectly, it works exactly how it's supposed to.
So it's more about, like, the work itself being rewarding.
Yeah, seeing that final product
Okay.
and knowing you had hand in it, even though the patient might not see your name on it.
It's like that quiet satisfaction.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. We got to talk about the other side of this, though.
Okay, yeah.
Because RoleCatcher, they're pretty upfront about how physically demanding this job can be.
Right. And it's not just, physical strength or something.
Yeah.
It's more about the specifics.
Yeah.
All that intricate work, those fine motor skills.
Right.
You're often sitting for a long time really focusing on tiny, tiny details.
Yeah, it's going to be tough on your hands, your wrists.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Your back, everything.
So if someone's prone to, like repetitive strain injuries, that's something to really think about.
For sure, yeah.
Ergonomics,
Crucial.
your best friend.
Big time.
Okay. And then they mention, exposure to potentially hazardous materials.
Right.
What does that mean exactly in, like, a dental lab setting?
No question. So we're talking about the various compounds, the chemicals used in the work.
Okay.
So like acrylic resins, certain metals and alloys, even some of the bonding agents.
Okay, so you're working with some pretty strong stuff.
Yeah. And some could irritate your skin. Some could be toxic if they're not handled correctly.
Gotcha.
It's just part of the job. But it really highlights how important a safe work environment is.
So having that clean, well-lit workspace like RoleCatcher talked about,
It's essential.
it's not just about, like, it looking nice.
Yeah, it's about your health.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, another thing RoleCatcher mentioned in the cons list was limited career growth potential.
Yeah.
What did they mean by that?
So it ties back to that specialization thing. Some labs, some practices, they might not have like a clear ladder to climb.
Right.
You might get to a senior technician level, and that's kind of it.
So it's not like a typical corporate job where
Exactly.
you're moving up the ranks.
Yeah. It's less about that and more about, becoming really, really good at what you do.
Becoming a master at your craft.
Exactly.
Which, if that's what you're passionate about, that's not a bad thing.
Not at all, but it's about knowing yourself and knowing what you want.
Right, because if someone's motivated by, climbing that corporate ladder.
This might not be the best fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of qualifications, RoleCatcher, they were really big on certifications. Remember all those acronyms, CDT, CDLT?
RDT?
RDT, yeah. Can we just break those down? Like, what do those actually mean?
Yeah. So CDT, that's Certified Dental Technician.
Okay.
That's the big one, nationally recognized in the U.S.
Got it.
It means you've met certain standards for all kinds of procedures.
Okay.
Then there's CDLT, so Certified Dental Laboratory Technician. That tends to be more specialized, maybe focusing on crowns and bridges specifically, or
Yep.
dentures.
Okay, so you're really honing in.
Exactly. And then there's RDT, Registered Dental Technician. That's more common in Canada.
Oh, okay.
And that involves registering with like a regulatory board, so a little different system.
Gotcha. So these aren't just, letters you slap after your name.
No.
They actually mean something.
They show real competence.
Right. And I'm guessing they can affect, how much money you can make too.
Absolutely. It shows employers, you're serious about this.
Yeah.
You didn't just, stumble into this. You've invested the time, the energy to reach a certain level.
You've got the skills.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. Before we get into the how-to part of all this, how to actually get a job as a dental technician,
Right.
I want to pause for a second for everyone listening,
Yeah.
What's resonating with you? What are you thinking, hearing all this about the good, the bad? Any deal breakers? Or is there something that's got you even more interested?
I'm curious too.
So you've heard about the meticulous work, the high-tech tools, the good and the bad, and you're still here with us. That means you must be at least a little bit intrigued by this whole dental technician thing, right?
I'd say so.
So let's shift gears a bit. We've talked about what it yes, but how do you actually make it happen? Become a dental technician, that is. And luckily, RoleCatcher has a ton of info on that, too.
Yeah, they don't just tell you about the job.
Right.
They give you practical advice on how to actually launch your career.
Exactly. So it seems like a good place to turn to, right?
Absolutely.
So it all starts with the education, right?
Yeah, for sure.
We talked about those certifications, the CDT, CDLT, RDT.
Right.
Let's break those down a little more. What are the actual steps someone could take?
Okay, so usually you need at least a high school diploma to get started, or the equivalent,
Right, of course, yeah.
And then you've got options. Some people go for formal training programs.
Okay.
Vocational schools, community colleges, that kind of thing.
So more hands-on.
Yeah. They usually mix classroom stuff with, actual lab experience.
Oh, that's good.
So you get that theory, but also the practical skills right from the start.
Right out of the gate. Okay.
And in those programs, you can often specialize even within dental technology. So crowns and bridges specifically, dentures, or maybe ceramics.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you could really hone in. The other route is an apprenticeship.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
Which is more common in some areas than others.
Right. Makes sense.
But that's where you're working under a more experienced dental technician, and you're kind of learning on the job.
So you're getting that real world experience.
Exactly. And building those connections in the field too.
Yeah, that's huge.
But it can be a little trickier to find those apprenticeships.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It really depends on where you live, what the job market's like.
Right. But either way, those certifications, they seem super important.
Oh yeah, they're key. No matter how you get there, it shows you've got the skills.
It's like proof, you know what I mean, to employers. I'm not just saying I can do this.
It's that stamp of approval.
Yeah. I've got the knowledge, I've got the training.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's say you've aced your education.
Right.
Gotten those certifications. How do you find those jobs? RoleCatcher, they actually help with that part too, right?
Oh yeah. They've got some great tools for actually finding dental technician jobs.
Okay.
Their search filters are really helpful. You can narrow it down by location, experience, salary, even by keywords that are specific to what you want to do.
Oh, that's nice. So it's not just, scrolling through those giant job boards
It takes out all that noise.
where half the stuff is not even relevant.
Yeah,
You can make it really targeted.
Totally.
I like that. Okay. So then there's your resume.
Right. Gotta have a good resume.
And RoleCatcher actually has this really cool AI tool, right?
Yeah, it's amazing.
For that.
It's like having a career coach, but in your pocket. You just upload your resume and it analyzes it based on, the actual jobs you're interested in.
Oh, that's really smart. So it's telling you how well you're actually matching up to
Exactly.
what employers are looking for.
So it takes out the guesswork.
I love it. It
Yeah.
does, which is so key because it's so competitive out there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you've honed those skills, right?
Right.
Polished the resume.
Big interview.
You've got the interview.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Now what?
Now you prepare.
And RoleCatcher actually has a whole section, right?
Yeah.
On interview prep.
Super thorough.
They even have a database of potential interview questions.
It's massive, over 120,000 questions.
That's wild.
It's wild, but it's awesome because they've organized them by industry experience level.
Oh, that's smart.
So you can really zero in on questions you're actually likely to get asked.
Okay. That is really, really useful.
So helpful.
It's not even about, like, memorizing the answers.
Yeah. It's just about getting comfortable talking about what you know, right?
Exactly. So you sound confident.
Right. And you can showcase what you've got. So out of all those questions, was there one that you were like, ooh, that's a good one?
One that I thought was really interesting was, can you describe a challenging project you worked on in the lab and how you overcame the obstacle?
Ooh, that is a good one.
Because it makes you talk about your skills, but also, like, how do you solve problems?
Right.
Can you think on your feet?
You're resilient.
Exactly.
You can handle the pressure.
Right. Shows that this isn't just a rote job.
Yeah.
You need to think. You need to adapt.
And that you can.
Exactly.
Okay, last thing. But RoleCatcher brings this up a few times. Networking.
Oh, yeah.
Which it's like everyone says networking.
Right. It's like a buzzword.
It can feel like a buzzword, but in this field, it seems really important.
It really is.
Why is that?
So in dental technology, word of mouth goes a long way.
Oh.
Personal connections, recommendations, that's huge.
So it's not just about going to like a big conference and handing out business cards.
No, it's about, building those real relationships,
Yeah.
learning from people already in the field.
So going to those conferences is good? Joining professional organizations maybe?
Yeah. Even just reaching out to dental technicians in your area.
Yeah.
Informational interviews.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah.
It can open doors.
Shows you're serious. You're really interested.
Exactly. It's one thing to say you're passionate, but it's another to actually show it.
I like that. Put in the work, make the connections.
Exactly.
Well, I think that's a great place to wrap up, actually.
I agree.
So we've explored the world of dental technicians.
Yeah, the ins and outs.
The artistry, the technology, all of it.
How to actually get the job.
The education, the certifications, even how to nail that interview.
Yeah.
And it's all thanks to RoleCatcher. They really do give you the roadmap.
They've got you covered.
But, like you said before, this is just the beginning of the journey, right?
Yeah. It is. It's about taking that first step.
And as you continue to explore, to do your research, think about this. We've talked a lot about making dental devices,
Okay.
but what about the future of their design?
Ooh, interesting.
Like, will patients be able to give their input directly?
That would be cool.
Right. Or will there be AI-powered design tools?
The future is wide open.
It is. Lots to think about as you dive into this exciting field.